I call upon Councillor Newmark to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm proud to rise to propose this motion to deliver the promise that opposition councillors made over 2 months ago, a promise to fight the shameful Tory actions, both in preventing this debate at our last meeting and in delaying this discussion for so long. In that time, we've seen 2 governments and 3 PMs come and go, countless ministerial resignations, sackings, reappointments and U-turns. And to think, I voted for chaos with Ed Miliband. During those months of delay, months in which inflation rose to the highest rate in 40 years, we've been focusing on the local impact of this chaos against the backdrop of the cost of living crisis. I commissioned research that shows just under 14,000 local homes face increased mortgage bills of increases of over £960. That's a combined total of £13.3 million across the borough. Meanwhile, they're spending £5 million refurbing this building. My research also showed how 5,876 local households have nothing left to cut back in the face of increasing energy price hikes. 3,188 local households are being forced to make searing cuts to their household budgets. And during those wasted 2 months, our government rejected Labour's plans to freeze energy prices before the autumn increases. This would have saved Hertsmere families a staggering £43 million. All of this boils down to one simple truth. The Tories crashed the economy and they want to make working people around here pay the price. Sunak's doing what he always does. He's making working people pay through higher taxes and cuts to essential services. He failed as a Chancellor. He failed to grow the economy. He failed to get a grip on inflation. And he failed to prevent the staggering waste of £1.2 billion on COVID fraud and dodgy PPE contracts. But perhaps his most serious failure of all was to fail to help families with this cost of living crisis. This is the man that the Hertsmere Tories opposite fawned over all summer. They brought him to the borough to hang out in Councillor Morris's garden, but for some reason they kept him away from the areas of multiple deprivation in Boreham Wood. The man who boasted that he'd moved money from exactly those areas of deprivation to more wealthy ones like Tunbridge Wells. He boasted about it. He was proud of taking money away from places like Boreham Wood. The man who Dowden shamelessly squired around Tory members in this area, despite his own family's history of tax avoidance. And the man whose proposals Dowden backed to put up taxes at this time for every other family in the country. No one voted for this, not even the Tory membership. They rejected him and these harmful policies. Our motion tonight articulates the fears and concerns of working people in this area. They tried to suppress it because, like their hero Sunak, they're not on the side of working people. This motion sets out practical steps on a local level so that fairer choices can be made.
Thank you, Councillor Newmark. Is the motion seconded? Councillor Sackdev was first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, it's unfortunate the opposition parties have tabled this motion this evening. This is sadly just an attempt to score political points because they know that this will not be approved tonight and therefore they have wasted officer time this evening. In the 2 minutes I have, I cannot include all the various ways that this council is helping residents. And I find it galling that Councillor Newmark feels proud of tonight, and therefore they have wasted officer time this evening.
Start by telling the people of Potters Bar that there are 2 Labour councillors in their town who believe the cost of living crisis is tough and difficult for many. Never mind questioning its existence.
Thank you, Councillor Clapper, for your constructive remarks. I'm sorry you've been left holding the fort to defend the indefensible tonight. See, some of your members haven't bothered turning up because they can't countenance voting against this. Tonight, Council's heard pleas to change a broken system, not to put a sticking plaster over it. For our finance portfolio holder to dismiss it as a waste of time, well, I suppose that's an improvement on what Councillor Hodgson-Jones was describing the cost of living crisis as a couple of weeks ago. Friends, what use are warm banks being set up in libraries when the Tories cut the opening hours back to the bare bone? What use are the warm banks in churches when churches around here are telling us that they can't afford to heat and light their premises? Outsourcing delivery of this critical provision is outsourcing responsibility for our duty of care for local people. Why aren't they supporting genuinely community-led cost of living and warm bank initiatives in premises like the one at the Old Cannon pub in the Cowley Hill ward? Instead, they're gleefully looking to knock it down for yet more housing. That's what happens if you set up a building to serve the community during a crisis in Boreham Wood. Whilst any help is positive, what we've seen around here is nowhere near enough. You've got a motion before you this evening that sets out coherent, robust and practical plans to actually tackle the cost of living and fuel crises. I hope that councillors in the chamber this evening will think independently and recognise the severity of the situation and support it. Accuse us of scoring political points. You accuse us of wasting officers' time. Well, they were going to be here anyway, and frankly, for some of them, it won't do them any harm to spend a bit more time in this building. So, friends, I can't imagine why anybody would vote against a motion to support people through a cost of living crisis. I hope that some of you opposite will have the independent mindedness enough to support our plea on behalf of local people this evening.